Hello, everybody! If it's Wednesday and very early, it's Warhammer. Must be time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. So, Tom, you're here unexpectedly. Originally, I thought that was just me. That's why your little sprite's on the thing. And then, like 10
I
minutes ago,
know.
you texted me and were like, "Okay, I can join you for lunch after all." Because originally, this is going to be a little lunchtime show. Originally, you had a
hmm
meeting. I have
hmm
my lunch scheduled for right now. But then your meeting got moved, so we can both take our lunch here and do a show.
Hello, friends. I love complaining, and so I don't want to miss this show if I don't have to.
That's
So
right.
I'm excited.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is a little spicy hot take time. Don't worry, Tom and I are going to do the Vince and Tom remake AOS rules at some
AOS.
point in the future. That's just going to take a little more time. But today we're early because I have to leave tonight. I'm leaving basically in the afternoon to go away with my wife. I have to go. We're going away for the weekend, so I'm not going to be around later tonight. So here we go. So hello everybody. I hope all our Eurozone time friends or time zone friends are appreciating it. But we're going to move quick today. Get right to the spicy hot takes pretty quickly. But of course, first we do have a little bit of news. And I mean un poquito, a little bit.
Uh, Rumor engine first
That's
and
right.
foremost, as
Yeah,
always. hmm Yep.
it's a rope. It's some
It
rope.
is a rope.
Mm-hmm.
It is a rope. I'm excited. I'm not so excited. Moving on.
Yeah, I know.
We
I could literally whatever. Could be anything. I hate rumor engines like this. Who cares?
Yeah, no excitement. That's what this did for me.
Mm-hmm.
Zero excitement.
I feel
Um,
nothing. Yeah, continue.
what I am excited about
Yes.
is the Mordheim name drop in
Yeah.
the GW video. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, the most non-news news item ever, right? Hey, what's up, Trove? Trove, I need to talk to you, by the way. I need to talk to you about something, Trevarian. Hit me up after the show at some point. I gotta speak to you about something. I'm really glad you're here. I hope you're doing well, buddy. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, so Mordheim, like, is this a specialist project announcement box drop? Like, take my money.
Yeah, yeah.
Two war bands, some
So we should give
terrain,
some we should
like,
give some background to this, right? So
yeah.
in a random hobby video that was about like getting your armies painted, yeah, there was the mention of Mordheim, which alone wouldn't be that weird, but Mordheim they haven't talked about and they've been like ultra uh quiet on for like a while. They haven't mentioned anything about it in any way, shape, or form. And then all of a
So
sudden they
for
just
somebody to
drop it in this
randomly
random
bring
video.
up,
Yeah,
right.
right. So I, for one, am hopeful that they finally realize they're sitting on a money printing machine and just print money. Because, like, again, Mordheim, they have an old world thing. It should come out from Specialist Studios. They should just make Mordheim. Like, just do it. Just remake it.
From a
And you don't
time
need to really change
standpoint,
much in the rules.
timeline wise, the old world is pretty close to the timeline of Mordheim, right?
It's not that far off. It's like, yes, there's a delta. Mordheim's still before it, if memory serves. But I
But
don't
not
remember the
by
exact
more than
years.
a couple decades, because I thought that like it was like a 500-year jump or
Yeah,
something like
they're
that
both about
on both of
500
them.
years before, but I don't remember the exact years. Tristan is in the chat. He might remember the exact times. I don't know if anybody in the chat remembers the exact because like they both happen in certain years is when they're set, and I don't. Yes, they're both like 500-ish, but I don't remember exactly how far back.
Yeah,
If someone can help me out, so I don't remember if
yeah.
more time was during the Three Emperors period or not. I can't remember. It's been too long. Like is really the problem. It's 26 years ago, man. I can only remember so many things. Uh,
Um, there is a 200-year gap.
okay, there you go.
2276 for Old World and 1999 for Mordheim.
Of course, that's right. That was the
So
joke. They said it in the year of the year because it released in like
yes.
99. Okay, there you go.
hmm
Thank you,
hmm
Tristan. Appreciate it. All right. So at any rate, yeah, I mean, it's still in the past, but who cares? Like, whatever. Like, it's
Yep.
fine.
Well, but not only that, like in apparently in I will say that in the actual um old world rule book, Mordheim is mentioned, and it's still a blasted ruin. So, like, the reality is like they could literally just set it during the time period of the old world.
Oh, sure. Just do it. Just do an updated thing. We're back in the city. There's
Right.
more. There was an earthquake. More warp stone was revealed. Good. Great. Excellent.
Boom. Done. It's in continuity with the old world now.
Simple.
So yeah. So I
Another
am
comet
super...
hits the city. Comet 2.
Again.
Yeah. Anyways,
No, I mean,
look, just make the game. What are we doing here? Okay, come on. And move on.
there's not a lot that would have me excited to buy GW product right now. This would be one of those things.
Sure, absolutely. Zeft loves cats. What's the easiest army to get into as a brand new player who wants to win games? Slaves to Darkness. Done. Easy. That's a very easy answer.
Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward army right now.
Now I don't know. Yeah, it's very like it goes. All right. Let's not, I want to get to the hot takes, so we're gonna move quick here. I think that's basically all our news, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Yes, a second comet has hit the city. Yeah. Okay. Let's do some pick of the week, Tom. What do you want to share with everybody? What's your pick this week? What would you like to share out? Have you watched the new Black Talon? We were talking about it right before we went live.
I have not watched the new Black Talon, unfortunately. Okay. It's funny that you bring this up. I was gonna jump, like, I wasn't planning on being here, and so until a couple minutes ago, so I had not actually picked anything. I'm looking back through my watch list to see if there's anything that
that's fine. While you're doing that, I'll give really a pick. Okay, yeah. I got a shout out. So this video just released today. I didn't know he was going to release the video today, but but I'm excited he did. So our good buddy Maniac, Scott the Miniature Maniac, he made another miniature. And it's a very fun, unusual bust. So he made it's like a cheerleader. It's a very not Warhammer or anything like that, but he's got it out there. He's going to be releasing it for everybody to paint. It's a super cool mini. I really like the design. I believe he's going to have one for me here pretty soon based on our previous conversation last time I talked to him, which was a couple days ago. So I will paint it at some point on the channel, but I just really like it. I think it's a really good design. It's not like it's she's got like a baseball bat she's meant to be like a what was the bubblegum pop chainsaw cheerleader thing? You know what I'm talking about? I don't know. Whatever.
Nope.
She's meant to be not like, it's not just a cheerleader. She's like clearly a fighter of some kind. Anyways, it's a cool model. Check out his video. He just released on it. If you're interested in sort of unusual models or getting into bust painting, I actually think it's a really good bust for like newer bust painters, because it's not overtly complicated. Maniac did a great job of like leaving a lot of negative space for you to paint and stuff like that. So it's good. What about you?
Yeah, actually, I realize I do have something that I can share.
Okay.
Well, but so the irony here is that this is kind of a spruik for a product, ironically, that I saw on one of Ninjon's videos that he was paid to promote. And I was like, what is this? You know, like normally I just skip ahead of those videos. But I'm a fan of pirates. I like me some pirates. I like me some pirate miniatures.
Sure.
And apparently Archon Studios has another it's not Patreon. What is it called? Like Game.
Sure.
I don't know. It is a version Game Found. It's a version of Kickstarter functionally, and they're doing like the third release of this. It's synced up with D&D 5e or whatever, but more importantly, it's a bunch of pirates, and there's a huge pirate ship, and I love it. And if Mordheim really is coming out, like they have some terrain associated with it, like for like a bazaar and for like docks and stuff like that, all of that could be super cool for a Mordheim board if that stuff drops. So nice. Again, if Mordheim drops, there's a Kickstarter coming out where it has some awesome pirate minis and terrain stuff and a big ship. And I mean, what more could one ask for than a big ship?
Fantastic. Yes, very good. And yes, thank you, the Bomberman Lollipop Chainsaw. That's what I was trying to think of. That's exactly right. Yes, appreciate it. Yeah, all right. Let's talk about little hobby time. So, what you been working on there, Tom? What's been on your desk? What you been painting?
Pigs. I'm I'm doing
Not
2
what I
big
expected.
pigs.
Oh, okay, got it.
Nope. Yeah.
No, just farm animals.
So no, just pigs. No, barnyard battles or whatever it's called. No, I just got my home project done, my last like roof panel installed in
saw.
the basement. So I was excited about that. And I'm able to go back to hobby stuff. And so I have a 1-dayer this weekend here locally that I'm doing. And I need pigs for that. So I'm painting those up kind of in prep for that. And then also I have a 2-dayer next month with here in Lexington.
Very nice.
And I think we may still have a ticket or 2 left for those that are interested.
Okay. Your trash clash in the bluegrass, that situation. Yes.
Yeah.
Trash clash in the bluegrass. The ridiculous.
And the trophy is a trash can.
There you go. Very nice.
So you too could have a trash can trophy.
It's funny to me, Tom, that you have all your trophies behind you, but you don't keep them in frame. How humble of you. They're there so you know. Absolutely. Okay. So for me, my hobby time, I am working on some rat ogres. The next unit of my rat ogres. They're almost done. I was hoping to finish them before I leave for this trip with my wife, but sadly it was not to be with everything else that's going on. But also for a future thing, this will probably come out way in the future, but I'm excited. So I also had to prep all my models for Adepticon. That's these giant bags behind me. Is my classic Ziploc baggies full of stuff for Adepticon. So I had to get all that prepped this weekend. But also, I got a nice little surprise from Goobs from Goobertown and Casey, who are doing their new project they're releasing where they have, it's like an alternative to decals. It's a little stampy thing. It's like pad printing for nails, but it's for your minis and stuff. I'm playing around with that. I don't know if I'll do a video on those or not. They're interesting. But in that package they sent me, they had these little goblin people. Okay.
Okay.
And Tom, they are adorable. I don't know if you won't probably really be able to see them.
They are super adorable.
But there's like a little sci-fi goblin girl and her fantasy version. And then there's a little fantasy goblin guy. Look at these models. They're so cute. I love these things.
Cute. What size base are those on? 40s?
I just put them on like 32s or something because that was about right for them. They didn't come with any bases. I just put them on a base to paint them.
I was just wondering if I could use them for anything.
I mean, they're like big goblin heroes. They fit on a 32 just fine, which is I think what all the goblin heroes are on. So as you can see, they fit perfectly fine on there. They're obviously big. They're scaled up. So they would be like, but I assume goblins are like orcs and they just keep growing. Right. So this is a really big goblin. But anyways, they rule. They're meant so you can practice. You notice all of them have like flat spaces. Like she's got her shield and he's got a little shield on his back and she's got a little briefcase. So you can practice your little stamping right there. So that's kind of the idea of them. But I just thought they were the cutest little things. So I'm definitely, I don't know what it'll become of like whether or not I do a stamping video, the little pad printing. But I'm definitely going to paint one of them goblins because they're awesome. I love them. Frankly, it's funny because like they launched this product and I'm like, no, your ancillary product, these goblins is the thing I'm really into. Like cool story about this, but I don't mind, freehand for putting on a little skull or something. Like I can do that. That's fine. Or I don't mind a decal, but a cool goblin is awesome. All right, Tom, let's get into it, my man. Are you ready to get into the hot takes, the spicy takes? And chat, as we're going over here, don't forget, hit like, hit subscribe. We want to see that super chat, that kind of thing. So I appreciate it if you contribute to the show. What it's going to be buying, by the way, and I'll talk about this, what your super chats are going to be purchasing is a new microphone for hobby cheating videos. I worked with Adam and identified a new good mic so I can improve the sound on my hobby cheating stuff. So if you super chat for the next, couple months, that's what that money's going to be going toward. Anywho, hey Tori, how you doing? Late to the early show. Yes, we're doing well. Looking forward to seeing you as well at Adepticon. Hey, it's Stuart the Iron Gutsman. He says he and his bowl of yogurt are here for the spice. Absolutely. Stuart, that's my standard lunch as well. Although I know if you're in Japan, it is not lunchtime. Okay. Tom, let's begin.
Yeah.
Let's jump over here to the hot takes. We welcome your hot takes, by the way, chat. I want to hear your responses to our spicy takes, and I want to hear your own as we get going. Okay? This is a collective effort. If you're watching this later, drop your spicy take down in the comments, okay? And some of these, Stuart, are going to relate to your recent videos. I've watched all your recent stuff. Check out Stuart the Iron Gutsman's most recent videos. I have thoughts, Stuart. You and I could do a whole video together. I might, maybe we'll have you on. We'll see if we can find a time. I know Japan's probably weird to have a time, but Stuart, I'd love to see if we can find a time and get you on the show because I want to talk through some of your stuff. Okay. Anyways, boom. I want to start with a simple one, Tom. I wanted to start with a positive thing, but for some reason, is a controversial take. You ready? Here's my take.
Sure. Hit me.
Age of Sigmar 4.0 is really fun. That's it. I know this sounds weak sauce. I promise some of them are going to get really... We're going to be all over the board here on like positive, negative. They're just spicy. I have a lot of issues right now with 4.0. Okay?
Sure.
But like playing the game... I legitimately have a fun time, a great time playing this game. I have played more AOS 4.0 already than probably most editions in their whole run. Okay?
I mean, I know that you've gotten in like dozens and upon dozens of games already.
Yeah, I'm up over, like, I had like 3 games 2 weekends ago. I played a game last weekend, doing I legitimately have a great time with this game. Again, there's problems. We're going to talk through them. They're going to be in these takes. But, like, actually on the table, the moment-to-moment experience and, like, the choices you make, right? Stuff like that is really engaging and interesting and fun. Okay? Now, there's other problems around the game. You understand what I'm saying? Like, outside of
like,
the 2.5 hours...
Right.
Yeah.
Like
outside of the 2.5 hours I'm playing the game, we're going to have lots of spicy takes. But once I get there and I'm on the table, I like I'm legitimately having a great time. I love like thinking through everything. Like the command points feel pretty right. Doing your stuff, having to compensate for like counter charges and shooting off turn and spellcasting off turn and things like that. I am legitimately enjoying. I don't know.
Sure.
There you go. That's what I think.
I don't disagree. It's so funny. I thoroughly enjoy the game when it's not played how they've set it up in the General's Handbook with match play. Like I think about something like the Holy events, right?
Yeah.
Both Holy Wars and Holy Havoc. We've had 2 events in 4th edition already. And I had a fun time. Like, but we didn't have battle tactics. We didn't. A lot of the things that are problematic about the game weren't problematic in those settings, in those contexts.
Yep. Yeah.
So I think it's a good game. I think the community would benefit if we were playing it in such a way that we were able to minimize some of the rough spots.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, I agree. I see some spicy takes rolling in over here in the chat. I'm loving it. Okay.
Yeah. Here's a great example of this. Mogwai said, Mogwai man, Path to Glory is great. Completely agree. Like Path to Glory,
especially the Ravaged Coast expansion.
Yep. If people were primarily playing that as AOS, most complaints would disappear.
Yeah. It's so funny. And we'll chew around the edges of that, right? Yep. Okay. All right. So that's just it. I think it's a really fun game. I think is actually quite a spicy take. I think some people are going to be like, find that vanilla or me fawning or shilling or something like that. Look, guys, I'm not shilling. We're going to tear into a bunch of stuff here, okay? But like, I'm sharing my truth. I can't do anything else, okay?
Yeah.
And I just have had a lot of fun. Suboptimal wargaming. I need a female Mega Gargant kit. You are not wrong. How? How is this the world we're in? So stupid. Thank you, Suboptimal. I think there's a hot take we'll get to. We'll probably have like a lightning round of hot takes at the end of just stuff that's not in my prezzo. But remind me to come back to that one on Sons of Behemoth. Okay. All right. Uh, and Angel said game is fun, flawed, improving, which is important, but fun. I think that is exactly how I'd sum it up. That's so good. That's so good. Okay. All right. Next spicy take. That one's a little weak. That's weak. I'll certainly agree on the spice scale. That's like maybe probably 1 pepper. Okay. No doubt. No doubt. All right. Let's get spicier. You ready, Tom?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, that's very true, Radio. That's really true, Paul. Like, one thing Vince will never be is a shill. This is absolutely true. Somebody, I think Stuart made a comment as like somebody, I think it was in your video, Stuart, I don't remember. But the comment was like, some people are involved in these programs and so it can sometimes pollute their opinions where like, if you get free stuff, like, yeah, I'm in the program, I get stuff. But like, if you've ever watched this show, I think I get complained about all the time is we're too negative. So clearly I'm not, my opinion is not being influenced. Like, I don't care. Send me stuff or don't send me stuff, but it's not going to change my opinion. All right, here we go. The focus on simplification and balance has made the game less interesting. It is bad for the game overall that we have focused on competitive balance and simplification for new players alone. That has been the driving force. That's the take. Okay. And now again, I think there are going to be some people who don't find that spicy, who said, yes, I've believed that for years. But I think this is something like, there's a lot of people who have constantly said, I think Honest Wargamer Rob is a proponent of this, that like, the better you make the game for competitive players, the better it is for casuals as well. And I disagree with this. You can over-focus, right, on, you can over-focus and over-index to competitive play to the point where it actually, or by the way, to simplification, which are two separate things. I want to be clear here. Right?
Yep.
And that will actually hurt the game for the vast majority of your player base. And that's the situation we're currently in. Because bringing down the floor, not a bad thing in itself. Making the game more balanced, not a bad thing in itself. Those are both admirable goals that should absolutely be part of like your guiding principles. Mm-hmm. The problem is we're missing the third guiding principle of keeping the game interesting, varied, and fun for experienced players. Raising the ceiling, and providing those alternate play modes. That's what we're missing. We have over-indexed on these North Stars. That's it.
I agree. Yeah, it's I think that, and it has skewed almost every decision that they've made from the bottom up, right? Like at almost every level of design, competitive play has skewed the decision-making process. And that's just not always the right decision for the health of the game.
Yep.
Like, again, I love competitive play, but it's just not always the right decision.
And again, I think players in general want a pretty balanced experience. Like, that is to say, casual people, if they show up and like one army just beats the other army 9 times out of 10, that's going to be a bad game, and people aren't going to play that. Okay?
Right.
That's why balance is an important North Star to have. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But in seeking after that and in simplifying what we've lost, like less interesting, somebody said you should expand on what you mean by less interesting. Okay? Sure. I mean, it's less interesting to play to play and participate in the game because I have less modalities to explore, options to choose, weird, wacky things that can happen during the game because we've done that. The ceiling has come down across the board. That's it. Okay. And so like that's just like I really again, I know some people are going to find this mild, but this has been like a major talking point for a while for a lot of people that like, oh, you're not like simplifying is good or stuff like that. And I think people would accuse me of saying that. No, I've always said, yes, we should have a simplified onboarding way. And that's what we got with Spearhead, which is great. That's correct. We have to have a simple, I want a low floor and a high ceiling. By the way, that's Magic the Gathering. D&D, by the way, is in this same problem right now. And this isn't a D&D show, but they're literally in the exact same trap right now. They have over-indexed on simplification and balance and forgot that a high ceiling makes the game interesting for long-time people and participants to experience the game how they want. Period.
Yep.
Magic is the only one getting it right, and they're getting it wrong in 100 other ways, but that's not this show. Like, so, you know, this is just it. Like, I don't know what else to say here. Overall, it's less interesting. I think this is probably like a two pepper take, because so many people don't want to believe this. A lot of the most vocal people are competitive people, right? Like, who play a lot and are highly engaged with the game. And I think some of them don't mind this.
Can I offer an answer, like a corollary take, spicy take to this? That's related, but it is a little bit different. I agree that Spearhead needed to be the onboarding.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. With you.
But my spicy hot take is that the War Scrolls should have been completely the same.
And what I mean by that is... Say that one more time. Sorry.
So this would have taken a more comprehensive unity of vision than they had when they were designing it. Okay. But here's the hot take: is that the War Scrolls in Spearhead should have been identical to the War Scrolls in AOS. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that in the composition of mapping out and planning these boxes, that whatever units are being included in them are entry level, kind of low bar units that are more simpler units, as opposed to the more complex rules heavy units elsewhere.
I see. Which would have required a lot more heavier upfront planning to make sure things were still working.
Like it would have been a design, like it would have been a much more like heavier design mapping that would have needed to take place. But the reality is that if they were able to have a single unified rule set, it would have actually
made the transition easier.
It would have been a smooth movement into AOS. But now when I teach somebody Spearhead, they're like, "Oh, this game's great. I want to do the full tabletop." And I'm like, "That's great. But those things that you've been using don't actually do the things that you've been using them as thus far. Things are all changing." Yep. And they're like, "What do you mean?" Right? And so like they were halfway there is what I would say. Yep. It should have been the same rules, but that would have been more design, and they would have needed to start from the beginning, and they wouldn't have been able to do some of the things that they are doing. Like
would you extend that to like other things, like the way battle tactics work or whatever and stuff like that? Like even the ancillary gameplay stuff?
Yeah. Okay. I would have had like, or what I would have done is said, this is the Spearhead battle pack, right? This is the rules that gets tacked on to the core rules, right? Yeah. That of how that gets deployed, and then when you move to the larger scale, you remove that rule set, and I would have been more discreet about what those things are.
Sure. Yeah. You're not wrong, Stuart. I mean, by AOS 3, there was a lot of complexity creep in general, but yes. But like, I do think like, here where you say that, there's going to be people who come at me in the comments, my dog. I know it. Like, it's going to happen over this. So there you go. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Bob Goblin, hot take: the AOS rules department needs more staff than the Soulbound rules department. Yes, I know it's two different companies. Boy, doesn't that just say a lot right there? I really think it does, because yeah, that there is an inequity there. Yeah. Okay. Next one. Ready? You ready, Tom, for the next hot take? These aren't just games. Yep. Some of this is hobby related too. Yep. Okay, I'm covering the board here. Your models should be painted. Just try. Paint your freaking models. Okay? They don't need to be amazing. Just paint your models. Like, if you're brand new and you just got in the game, fine. I don't care. But I better see progress. All right? I want to see, when you show up to a game week to week, I should see more stuff painted. Like, one of our mutual friends, okay, who we know, I played a game of Warhammer with him last week. This is Kevin, right? Mm-hmm. He showed up. He shows up all the time. You know, he plays intermittently, very intermittently. Okay?
Sure.
Like, I get a game with him, you know, once every month or so, a couple months. Okay? Yet every time he shows up, and he plays Lumineth, by the way. Corbin, gotcha. He has another thing painted. Okay.
Yep.
And he's like a single dad, multiple kids, that kind of thing, right? But he shows up with something painted. Okay.
Yep.
If he can do it, you can do it. Try. Just like try. Just continually buying models and then not painting anything is not a hobby. Paint your models. I don't know what else to say.
I mean, it could be considered collecting.
It's not a hobby. Paint your crap. Okay? I don't want to play against your gray stuff. I don't need it to be amazing. I really don't. Like, you can use any... We'll talk about... I've got another spicy take related to hobby later on. I'm not setting a bar here. Just get paint on it.
Is Zenithal getting paint on it?
No. No.
Okay, just checking.
Just try. I just need to see... I don't need to see perfectly painted armies. I don't need to see everything all the time. I'm saying try. I want to see effort, not complaints. Okay? Get your painted.
I feel like there's a conflict of interest here, given that you run a painting Patreon and the like, right?
Sure.
I'm just saying,
I have incentive, yes, no doubt. Okay. But like, Legionnaire says, I'm just going to start playing with the boxes themselves. Yeah, exactly. Like, Old World, you just rank them up, right? Just cut the boxes to size and just move the box around. Okay, and then just like put get a Sharpie and put hashes for how many dead guys are there.
Amazing.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I need a crimson red paint recommendation that isn't a GW paint. Crimson red. Basilisk red or Wyvern Fury from Army Painters, probably fine. There's also a pretty good crimson in AK 3rd Gen's line. Like violet red is in that space. There's a couple in that range. Mm-hmm. There you go.
There's a really nice one in the custom sets, in one of the creator sets for why am I blanking on the paint line? It's the only thing that I use now. Who do you have your paint sets with?
Pro Acryl.
Yeah, Pro Acryl. Pro Acryl in one of the custom lines has a really nice
dark crimson in Matt Sexwish's set. Yes, it's really good.
Yep,
absolutely, that's a good one. Stop it, Martin. That scale 75 crap. Get that out of here. I know I used to love it, but no. 2+ tough coming in, Doug, with like the nuclear take of hot take GW gold paints are great golds. Well, I mean, if you like painting your models with cheddar cheese, it is a great color. There's my take. There's my take on that one, Doug.
Here's the deal, Doug. It's one of my go-tos for gold. Despite what Vince says, it really is still one of my go-tos for gold.
I'm going to Amish country this week where I'll see lots of cheeses that look exactly the same color as that, so it'll be great. Okay.
You shut your mouth.
It's like if you mix Cheeto dust into an already orange cheese. That's what you get with GW golds. Okay. This is just a spicy one. Okay. All right. Here we go. Tom, I think I finally might have found one that people think is a 3 bell pepper. Let's see. Or 3 peppers. Okay. Here we go.
Yep.
There are too many units in this game, especially heroes in some armies. They should be cut and combined. Let me explain.
Fire Slayers.
Sure. I mean, like, yeah, we could go across the armies, but let's just take the easy one.
Yes.
Let's take the simplest example of this.
Stormcast?
Yes, correct. Like, instead of cutting models, I don't want people to lose their models, okay? What they should do is combine. Cut them and combine them. They don't need their own rules. We need to take like 5 of these heroes and shove them together into one war scroll. And they are now this. Okay? And say, this is the thing, and all of these models work. Put one picture on the war scroll and then say, also, all of these models are valid.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
And we could do this. Stuart says, Fire Slayers simultaneously have not enough units and too many units. How is this true?
Also true. It is absolutely true. Yeah.
Right. We, like, Skaven engineers are a good example of this, right? Mm-hmm. This is all in the world because we stopped deciding that we could just give people equipment or have people actually make a choice in list building about what they equipped, right? All you actually need is Warlock. And then it
Sure.
could just say, like,
Sure.
does he have a little patchouli rocket launcher or a pistol-y thing or whatever, right? That's all we have to do.
Yep.
Like,
You don't need
combine.
separate war scrolls for each
No.
of those. Yeah.
We do not. We don't. There is not enough material difference to actually be, like, you separate things if there's some need to make different points for them. That should be the only reason, right?
Yeah.
If they're either functionally, because they're functionally doing something different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Soul Blight's another great example of this. My God. It's a problem over there.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And so, like, just whack 10 of these war scrolls per army, and they're all now one war scroll. Again, I don't want people to lose figs or stuff like that.
So what's the magic number? 20 units per army?
I don't. Probably. You know what? Honestly, probably. Spicy take corollary. The correct number of units for an army is between 20 and 30. Floor 20, max 30. Yeah. There you go. I'm not totally positive on that, but that feels about right.
And no more than half can be heroes.
Jesus. Yeah. At least. Okay.
Right? I only say that because that's not true for something like Fire Slayers.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is just, I think, this to me feels like they, Vince, did you not weep when they removed the Exalted Herald on Hellflare? No, I did not, Stuart. No, I did not. All of those, I tried to play a Slanesh Chariot list, by the way. Fun side note. I was like, okay, we have all this chariot stuff. I was like, can I make this work? Can I flood the board with these chariots? I have a ton of them, right? Yeah. So I tried like a body flood in Slanesh, like a ton of chariots and a ton of daemonettes, because another thing I have an absolute metric ton of, right?
Yep.
And you know what happened? It got demolished. Holy crap.
Yeah, because it's not efficient. It's not just enough to flood the board with units. They all have to be efficient units.
They have to do something. Yeah, that's the thing.
Correct.
Unless they get so cheap that and then they're not cheap. Like Slanesh isn't cheap enough yet that you can just like have bodies, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. No more dumb foot heroes that are slightly different that now need a new war scroll. Stop it. Stop it.
Yep. Yep.
Just don't release anything. Honest answer. If that's your solution, then put no models out. I would rather have no models than another worthless foot hero.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, they just need to really embrace the alternate sculpts, right? Like these models count as alternate sculpts for this war scroll. Mm-hmm. Like they do it for commemorative models, right? Like I think about like a bunch of the Night Haunt like commemorative models that were like unit champions and other stuff like that. And so they've done it occasionally there, but I think that even with these releases, they just need to embrace this. Now, it makes those models not necessary. So like from a marketing standpoint, I can understand their desire to blah, 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 blah. But the problem is that it is creating unnecessary clutter in the armies themselves.
Agreed. All right.
And most of the time, I'm not buying those foot heroes anyways.
That's right. As Chris H said, people like buying or crafting alternate sculpts, so I don't even think it hurts sales. Like, just, they've done this in the past, by the way. This isn't like some magical thing I'm talking about that has never been done in AOS. This was done in Fantasy. This is even done in AOS. We've had like multiple models for like the Knight Incantor or whatever.
This is done in Old World right now.
Yes.
There are units that you have that there are not sculpts for that you have to make, right? Like GW is doing this with one of their product lines.
Yep. Again, so like just cut the nonsense. Stop trying to figure out the 10-point balance here versus there, right? And there you go.
And I can already hear people say, but wait a minute. How will we know by being able to visually identify like a model and know what it counts as, right? For proxies or whatever. Newsflash, right now, you have to do that anyways. Right. But for instead of one model or 4 different models being one war scroll, 4 different models represent 4 war scrolls.
Yeah, exactly. It's more complicated right now. Exactly, because I'm like, wait, what's the minor difference with that one? Right?
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct. It's trash.
absolutely. So that's just I'm not here for that. Okay, next spicy take. We should not have battle tomes in the first year after an edition change, especially one with indices. We just shouldn't have had battle tomes. Battle tomes releasing after the edition change where things got indexed were a mistake. That's it. They just shouldn't exist right now.
So here's a corollary. They should start over this fall. Do it again.
Do it again.
Like, I don't care.
You done,
I don't
you
care.
done messed up, AA Rod.
Right.
This is it.
Right.
Like, the battle tomes so far have been so disappointing. Like, can we just put this to the side? I don't even think this is like a spicy take at this point to say the battle tomes have been completely disappointing. What I'm saying is, like, we need a moratorium on battle tomes. Like, don't try to write the rules for the tomes at the same time you're writing the index. It's nonsense. Yeah. I don't like paying $50+. I mean, obviously it varies based on your locale. I don't even want to talk about Australia. Those poor folks down there. Yep. Okay, for a reprinted index with maybe a changed battle trait because they got a new idea. That's garbage. Oh, and 2 armies of renown. Sorry, to be fair. Okay, like I would say they should just put out their rules for free. But like I know that the reality we live in is that they are not going to do that because their book and box games department is a huge part of their revenue, and like no VP is going to approve that. So like they're gonna price themselves into the ground if they don't change it. But at minimum, they should just put out other books. By the way, doing this, I'm not saying print no books. I'm saying do other things. Put out a book of magic items. Put out Ravaged Coast type stuff. Put out a narrative book. There's like tons of books you could put out that people would buy and would be interesting and would add to the game and expand the game and give more options of what you could do and play and list build and things like that. Put out an Armies of Renown book. Okay? Or a or an Armies and Regiments book or something like that. Okay?
Yep.
And people, that would be way interesting, and it would solve the earlier problem. Right? Yeah. Of having that low ceiling. So like this is so poorly executed. If you get a book in the beginning of this edition, it is generally sucky. That's it. It sucks. Mm-hmm. You lost. Because what's going to happen is the back half of books are going to be heavily changed.
Yep.
Right? They'll have new content and new war scrolls and new stuff, and that's it. And like, by the way, this would make their lives easier too. The only battle tomes that should come out is if they want to do a major army release for it. So like a Git style thing. And if so, actually spend more time, rewrite that book exhaustively. Not just an index reprint.
Yep.
All right. While you're at it, it's not a spicy take, but go to like minimum 5-year editions, not 3-year. Okay. If we're even going to have editions at all. So.
Sure.
And I agree. Those unique regiments could be a great place for testing the waters on new mechanics, Rory. I agree. Yep. Absolutely. Owen Jackson, just separate hobby, lore, and art from rules. Simple. The Owen Jackson here in the chat. Live. I can't believe it. So at any rate, like it's a stupid world we live in where you want your battle tome to be the last battle tome released.
Yep.
Martin Orlando with a super chat. Thank you, Martin. I appreciate that. Do you think that'll go toward the new mic for hobby cheating? Do you think GW has conditioned their player base into only buying matched play products? I feel like non-army books barely move. I think you can. I don't know is the answer. I think that's as easy as the books you put out. Okay? If you're putting out complete Shi'ar's handbooks, they're not going to sell. All right? But if you put out Tasha's Cauldron Tasha's Cauldron of everything, it will. Like just you can do expansion books that sell. It's not hard. Other games have cracked this. Right? It just takes the actual you just have to fill them with interesting things. Haroon, completely agree. Oh, Owen, you're a U.S. citizen now. See you at Acon. Well, welcome, brother. Hey, all right. Congratulations.
It's
Uh,
a rough time to be joining.
yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say, but great. I'm glad. Haroon said making the app actually work and not linked to having to buy a tome to unlock. Yeah, Haroon, I didn't put that in here because I felt like it wasn't even spicy. But yeah, like obviously we've said it on the show like 100 times. Locking the war scrolls behind the app stuff is the stupidest thing they've ever done. Undo it. It's bad. It's terrible. So like there you go. I don't even think that spice level is 0. That's just common sense. So there you go. Okay. Next one. Next spicy take. Speed paint and slap chop is good. It's good. It's a good thing. Yeah. Period. I don't care how you paint your models. I'm sick of people like having elitist opinions, looking down on people who just quickly speed paint stuff. I talked earlier about getting your models painted. Just paint them. And if this is how you want to do it, I support that 1,000%. It's good. Use these tools. Go nuts. Cheat any way you can. That's why my whole series is called Hobby Cheating. Okay? These things are good. I don't care that it has a goofy name. I don't care that a bunch of people got up in arms. Like, whatever. Get off your high horse. All right? Like, the corollary to my interest in my other... Because a lot of painters come down on this, the Harrower. I don't think... Like, I think this is just true. Okay? But like, there's a lot of people who have this, opinion that like, oh, this is somehow lesser or worse or whatever. That's a garbage opinion. Okay. Like this is people engaging in the hobby in whatever way they find comfortable is good, period, full stop. That's it. I don't know. Tom, thoughts on quick hobby stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I have moved away from my old painting techniques, to be very honest, towards a slap chop style. Like, and I still like things that I want to invest time in. I still invest time in, right? But for my first draft of any model, it's almost all slap chop or some for. But again, all that simply is zenithal undershading with glazing, right? Sure, but essentially, like. Yes, that is my first round of color that I put on models.
And like again, I'm not saying if you don't want to go farther, like believe me, I'm not slap chopping my rat ogres here for my unit, right? These things take forever to paint. Like each little Skaven model is like 10 plus hours, right? For every model in the army, including like a clan rat or something, right? And that's the army I'm building. My point is I support you having painted models and I want you to feel comfortable getting there however you do, because the painted model is superior. So if these things are getting more people painting their models, then good. It is materially good. Yeah. That's it. It's that simple. Okay.
Yep.
So like I don't, I'm not encouraging people to paint worse or paint like or do anything like that. That's nonsense. I'm encouraging people to paint. That's what I want. I want people to do it, and if that's the way they enjoy and have fun, go for it. Okay. Like I'm not gonna gate people because of how they gatekeep people because of how they want to paint. That's silly. Okay. Jacob, I just disagree. I first of all, I do think I try to set the example. I have videos on my channel that shows people the highest levels of painting possible that I am capable of. But at the same time, I also have videos on getting things painted fast and speed painted. I've done armies in a weekend. I think both of those have a place in the hobby. I don't think any of that's disrespecting in any way. I don't know who the hobby is that I'm disrespecting. I don't know what that is. That's not a person. What I care about is people. And if people feel better because they have an ability to actually engage with the hobby and see real progress, right? Then that is good. Like, if that causes flourishing within the hobby, then that is a good thing. Gray Boy with the super chat saying the amount of dry brushing hate is insane, which is crazy. Dry brushing is such a good and powerful technique. Look at what Byron, Martis Opus, accomplishes. Dude is a master of what he can do with the dry brush. Look at Victoria Lamb, one of the best Golden Demon painters of all time, one of my favorite artists in history. regularly use dry brushing in her display models in very smart, clever ways to create realistic takes on light and blends and stuff like that. Like any other technique, these things can have a home. Okay? So, there you go. That's what it comes down to. I think I won't go into this too much farther with you, Jacob, but I'll say this. If people are lazy in the hobby, go nuts. Like, be lazy as long as you get your stuff painted. Because they probably have other priorities. I don't know what's going on in their life. Do they have kids? They going through medical treatments? They just lose their job? Their wife out fighting with them? Are they going through a divorce? Like, there's 1,000 things that are going on in your life that are materially more important than whether you paint your tiny plastic toys. Okay? But I'd like you to try to paint your plastic toys. That's why I said try. If people are interested in improving, then they will pursue that. And I try to give them the tools in my channel to let them do that in both simple ways and complicated ways. Like, that is the mission statement of my channel, is to be the exhaustive Library of Alexandria for everything you could ever want. So if they want to improve, I will be here to support them the whole way. Okay, that is literally the Discord and my Patreon and everything I do. But that's not always in the cards for everybody. Some people just either don't want to improve or don't have that in their or time for that. It's a luxury to have that. I want them to feel good about having painted and feel like they accomplished something in their lives because they did. That's it. It's not hard. Again, what leads to human flourishing is good. Morality's not complicated. And it's not complicated here. Okay. Next. Here it is, folks. Mark it off on the bingo card. You knew it was coming. Battle tactics are garbage and boring. There. I said it. Okay? I've said it 100 times before. They're garbage. So at this point, Tom, I think I'm about 80 games-ish into AOS 4. Somewhere around there. I've lost exact count. But I really think that's probably about my number by loose count.
Sure.
And 80 games of the same battle tactics, okay?
Yep.
Boy, is this the most rote experience in history. I know people. I know, like, a lot of people saying cold take, one pepper, no spice. I hear you. Okay. But there's a lot of people who are going to come fight me on this. All right? This has been a thing.
Yeah. You want to reinvigorate this game? You want to unchain the experience? Get rid of battle tactics. Right? You can replace them with other subsystems. That's fine. But battle tactics, as they currently are with their current implementation, is trash. Period.
I'm seeing a lot of agreement in the chat. And folks, I'm glad you're with me. I'm glad you think this is a cold take. I do. I'm glad everybody thinks this is a spice 0 out of 10 take. I'm excited. Okay. All hot take. All of the current battle tactics would make good names for various burger restaurant menu items. Very nice. Okay. Like, I'm sorry, but it needed to be in here. Okay. And I agree. Something like Ravaged Coast, the resource gathering, stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of interesting takes on secondary, tertiary type objectives in game. Folks, battle tactics ain't it.
Right.
The way it's warped army building, the way it's made, like, yes, walking to the two corners, you know, all that kind of stuff. Brian, what about people who blast through tourneys with a meta army with each unit borrowed from someone else, nothing they've brought and painted themselves? Gee, well, Brian, who would you be talking about there? Let me think here. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. My general feeling on that is, like, what the top competitive players do is such a small slice of the population overall. Like, they're 0.001%, right? And so I'm not super concerned with how they act. Like, if that's what they get joy from, I guess go nuts, right? I also think there is a good number of those players who actually don't just take the most meta force. Like, there is a person I can think of who Yeah, Brian. I know who you're talking about, Brian. And like the thing, I mean, we just say Tom. Like Tom borrows all this stuff. That being said, like Tom's army was not exactly a meta list. It was pretty off meta. It was actually very clever. His like 180 clan rats plus Visic and the Deathmaster list that he won with, right? I do think that's actually like the body flood strategy is actually a pretty smart, intuitive counter to the current meta. As to like the borrowing and meeting the hobby minimum, I don't know, man. Top competitive stuff, like it's not about the hobby anyways at that level. Like they're doing it for the rules. That's why those kinds of awards should always be separated, right?
Right.
So I mean, you know, my feeling was like Tom's most recent list with 180 clan rats was very smart in its actual construction. I appreciate his list building intuition that was actually going to be a good counter to the heavy hammer meta. But like, I mean, yeah, Tom is not a hobbyist. He shows up with painted stuff. He always meets whatever the hobby minimum is, usually by borrowing to some degree, but you know, he does whatever the minimum required is. And so if that's the minimum set for the tourney, he has met the expectations of the TO and is playing by the rules. That's all I can say. Okay. There you go. All right. Yeah, I agree, Soothsayer. Like, battle tactics would be much more interesting if they were dependent on the battle plan or something like that. There you go. I think he just draws more value from the play, and that's fine. I want people to, again, be able to engage with the game how they want, right? So, there you go. Okay. Again, probably a cold take, but that's all right. I'm glad so many people are in agreement. It's funny to me. Like, he's such a good dude. Like, Tom is such a good dude. I want to be clear here about that. I'm not in any way ripping on Tom Guan. I actually think his list was really smart. Like, he meets the hobby. He does what it is. He's a great player. Like, the reality is 100 other people could take that list and fail with it. He can take that list and win with it because he's such a good player.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. Okay. Like on the I'll leave behind this the battle tactic thing by saying, how do so much of us? It seems like there's an overwhelming agreement in the chat, Tom, that battle tactics suck, and yet we're all still dying on this hill this long later. So the defenders are winning. Everybody says this is a cold take. If it was a cold take, then they would be gone from the game tomorrow. If nobody likes them that much.
No, the key is that the hold of official GW sanctioned style events is too strong. This has nothing to do, like, people are just discontent, and they can be discontent and play with bad systems because that's what's in the rule book. Yeah, that's what drives this whole thing. Right? Like, we are far from the world of like MoComp, right?
Sure.
In all of those different types of structures and packs and stuff like that. We don't live in that space anymore. And the consequence of that is that is that we get stuck with these bad systems for years.
Sure. I don't know how, like, Cygnus Maximus now is the addition of our discontent. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So there you go. Okay. All right. Next take. You ready, Tom? I know you got to leave soon. We don't need any new armies. We don't need them. We're full here. As much as I'd love to see new Luminath or stuff like that or whatever, or, you know, our elemental
Dark
people
elves.
or vampirates or dark elves, we don't need them. We're good. We're good here.
We're all good here. Thanks. I mean, okay. Like, I would rather roll some things in, collapse some stuff, and then actually have
until we get
the
proper expansions for the existing armies. I don't want any new armies. That's my caveat.
No, that's fair. Yep, that's fair. No, I agree with that. And on that, I'm out.
Very good. Have a good time, Tom. Tom's got to go to his meeting now. Like, this is my take. I wonder if I can switch here. Oh, it's gonna screw up. So we'll just have this little thing here. Scott Hawk with a super chat saying, I would like to see battle missions with a different primary scoring mechanic. I've spent too many years standing on circles. Completely agreed, Scott. Completely agreed. I'll grab a little picture and we'll put it over there. Boop. Boop, to cover up Tom's little thing. We'll put our hot takes image down here. There you go. Okay, now we got something. Cool. Anyways, yeah, we do not need any new armies until we fix and expand the existing armies. Until I get a refresh of ogres with new models. Until I get Fire Slayers expanded. Until I get like blah 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 blah. Okay, like until I get these armies to that 20 to 30 unit sweet spot, I don't need any new armies. There you go. Is that spicy enough for people? Like, yes, as Haywo said, eat your vegetables before you have dessert. Like, I don't need a new army of underdeveloped dark elves when I have so many armies that are languishing. It's that meme of like the parent holding up the kid while the other one's struggling, and then the skeleton at the bottom of the ocean. Like, there you go. Stuart, you're welcome to join. You've got the Discord. Come on, you've got the Discord, I think, Stuart. Come on in. I believe you already have it. You're welcome to join, Stuart. So, like, that's it. I don't need Chaos Dwarves. I don't need Dark Elves. I don't need any of that stuff. Like, build out what we have. Expand and fix the existing armies. Make them full and good before we do any expansion. Period. As Angel said, focus on what you have, cement it, and then you build the house. That's right. Like, get that foundation. Right? So, you know, if you're gonna expand Daughters of Cain by adding Malarian and all of that stuff, then go nuts. But otherwise, no. I don't need random new armies. We're good. We're done here. Okay. Ugg says buff Dark Elves. I'm listening. There you go. That's right. I'm tired of like anemic army releases that aren't really full armies. So there you go. And like, again, I'm sure the sculptors do want to work on new stuff. I bet they do. Work on new cool things for the existing forces. Okay. Or gangs of weirdos or Warcry warbands. Like you can do other army takes with Warcry warbands or Underworld's warbands or whatever. Right? Like you can expand the edge of the world with that. Right? So there you go. That's what I think. That's the hot take. All right, hold on, Stuart. I'll get you. We're gonna pause here while I talk amongst yourselves for a moment while I handle this. I think I can do this here. Hope everybody's doing well today. This is it. This is fascinating television, I'm sure. I can't find you, Stuart. I'm sorry. I can't find you on Discord. That's what I'm trying to invite you through. All right. Well, I don't want to sit here and fart around forever. I do want to actually continue the show. All right. Stuart, it's okay. We'll make it happen in the future. Don't worry. All right. There you go. Okay. Very good. Just catching up on the chat that I missed here. Okay. Yes, riveting stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is fascinating. Me staring at my phone for 2 minutes. All right. That was our little technical difficulty section. We'll be back. Okay, everybody ready for the hot takes to continue? Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, do all that stuff. We'll get you. We'll get you there. Okay. So, next spicy take. Here's what I'll do. All right, next spicy take is going to be the Age of Sigmar lore is better than the Old World lore. Just going to drop it right there. Talk amongst yourselves. Let me defend my statement. Okay? Here we go. Old World lore is boring. I don't care how much of it there is. It's boring. Not England fighting, not England, France fighting, not Egypt. All of this stuff. You know, I don't care. I find it to be a small world, and it's uninteresting. It is so rote fantasy that has been done like 100 times. There's nothing special or unique or different about it. It's just a standard medieval knockoff full of the worlds that we've already seen before, like 100 times. There you go. That's the take. This is how I think we finally hit the spice section. This is hot as the sun. Okay, good. We finally got some habanero in here. Okay. Like, Age of Sigmar is way more interesting. The bigger, it's planes, it's magical, it's epic and high fantasy. It's it actually had forced them to be creative and think about the way the various things. Gray Boy with the super chat saying was gonna make this my hot takes. Also, the map for the old world sucks too. You mean the map of Earth? You mean Earth? Just Earth, but with Atlantis still in there? Okay. Like, yeah, it's pretty boring. Okay. And, like, this is just the reality of the thing. Hey, whoa, I know you're around. If you want to jump in and hot take with me, you're welcome to, by the way. I'm sorry I can't get Stuart in. Stuart, I'll take care of you after the show. Don't worry. We'll make it happen. Yeah, Earth, but with an extra donut. My strong feeling here is that AOS lore has the only place it's at the moment where we're challenged, and it's been being answered, was just having individual characters. I think when people say that they like old world lore, they have a couple of characters they really like because of the stories they were in. And it's taken us time in AOS to build up individual characters that we follow along with their perspective and actually care about as much. Okay? And I think we've gotten there. The reality is, I find the stories much more compelling of people like Vandus and Ionis, and even a lot of the gods and how they interact. Like, the stuff between Alariel and Croak, way more interesting than most anything I've read. Like, we have these characters moving around now and actually being interesting and doing interesting things. The actual world, the setting, AOS is not even close. The infinite planes, the space for exploration, the space for new stuff, the way magic works, the things you can get up to. You can tell the smallest story in an inn in Hammerhall and go gritty, like, yeah, thank you. Callus and Toll are two other really great examples of, like, characters we care about. You get down to the grit level of, like, Callus and Toll and people in a bar and tortures and fighting cultists. Okay? You can get all the way down to that, or you can sweep all the way up to Lord Croak in his spaceship fighting a Gaunt Summoner in his Silver Tower spaceship. That is simply a range, right, of world building that is incredible. Okay? So, there you go. Like, you can tell more stories. The worlds are more compelling. The characters they've introduced are interesting. People can, sort of die, live, repeat. It's good. Right? And the journeys they go on and the sort of sweep and scope of this is a lot bigger. And a lot better and a lot more varied and a lot more interesting. There you go. Rather than just telling the same fantasy story again and again and again and again and again and again and again, like, just slightly scraped off. Slightly scraped off history. Okay. What are some good world building AOS books? The Callus and Toll books are really good. The Red Death, what's it? Is that his name? Red Death? The one about Korgus Call is really good. So yeah. There you go. So there you go. There you go. I'm glad we finally got to a super spicy take for everybody. Okay. There you go. Tom Cruise as a Stormcast. That's right. Live, die, repeat. Or all you need is kill. That's right. Okay. Oh yeah, Gloomspite. That was a fun one. Yeah, yeah. That is a good one. Yep. Related to this, as a side note, corollary to this, uh, is Stormcast are way more interesting than Space Marines and a better iconic. There you go. Not what we're talking about, but that's the other corollary to this hot take. Space Marines are boring. Stormcast are interesting. There you go. They're better models, and they're better from a lore perspective. So, there you go. Let's just go ahead and go all the way. Let's go all the way with this spicy one. All right. Next up, next spicy take. We're just as I said, we'll just go nuclear here. All right. Oh, what happened? Oh, Heywo's in. Heyo. What's up, Heywo? How you doing there, brother?
Yo, what's up?
All right. Thank you for joining. Thank you for taking Tom's place.
I was summoned.
Absolutely. You got any thoughts on the AOS lore versus Old World lore or anything like that before we leave this spicy take behind?
No, I agree. It is better than Old World lore. Truly, it has a lot of potential that I would like to see realized a little more. But even that is better than Xerox, Lord of the Rings, a little bit of Saturday morning cartoon stuff tossed in with just a map of the world. I've been interacting with fantasy RPG settings for 30 years, and Old World is hardly a blip on the radar.
That's right. That's right.
And to kick off your other point, which was salient and correct, because I've shown up simply to agree in this hot take situation. Yeah, Stormcast are more interesting than Space Marines. Almost necessarily. Like, okay, the bips and bops and a lot of the theocratic stuff of the culture and the setting, that's all like interesting, and it used to be satire and it kind of isn't anymore. But like the Space Marines themselves, they're just like sort of empty child soldiers.
Yep.
To me.
Yep.
And the Stormcast are more akin to like manufactured divinity, angels of artifice, like fake but human made, or at least godly human made. And they're like Einherjar, they were saved from the battlefields. They have the whole human thing going for them.
Right.
Which I think gives them the opportunity to be much more interesting characters. And that failure is needed into them from the ground up.
They can also have emotions and relationships and love and stuff, which is actually pretty important to storytelling. Like human interaction and relationships are pretty important.
Yeah, and also because they can respawn, like in Quake, almost all of their, well, not almost all, a lot of their combat tactics are sacrificial to the point of like profligacy almost, where, well, we're going to come back, the civilians won't. And so we're just always going to die to a man. It goes into their tactics. We're only going to send this many here because we'll technically still win, but they all die. It's fine. You start to see the repercussions of that now more and more in the story, which is interesting. Look, it's going somewhere. How neat, with Ionis Cryptborn and Hammerhand, the walking nuclear bomb man, who no longer really even has his original personality anymore. And it's becoming harder to hide that. I'm reminded of a particular bit of lore about the Celestin Prime, to put a period at the end of this whole Stormcast sacrificial, human righteousness thing. There was a sword that was crafted out of the fallen Celestin Prime's wings when he fell on the battlefield when he died. And his wings are like, well, Art Deco, Sigmarite or whatever, and they fashioned a sword out of it. I can't remember what the sword is called, but there was a group of high priests of Sigmar who were debating weeks and months and years in libraries and secret auditoriums and stuff. This is a holy artifact, but we don't want to. Should we let people know about this thing? People could rally behind it, or should we lock it up in the vaults because it implies, by its very existence, that the Celestin Prime can die. He can lose.
Right.
Is that something that's going to shake the faith of the cities of Sigmar and everything like that? And the Celestin Prime himself came down on a thunderbolt and walked into the room with his footsteps, having crackling lightning behind them. And he's like, no, the people must know. They must know that the Celestin Prime is still human and can fall, because they have to know that he will always get back up again.
Beautiful.
And that's why Space Marines are not as cool.
Love it. Amazing. Perfect. It's great. No notes. Okay. Next spicy take. Oops. Sorry. Okay. List building is boring and it's really bad for the game. This is not just like it's unfortunate for Johnny types. It's bad for the game as a whole because it reduces people's engagement with the game. Like by making list building boring, what you've done is reduce the amount of time people sit around thinking about Age of Sigmar, that they engage with it in their off time, because playing the game is the tiniest tip of the iceberg. And the hobby and list building and everything else is actually most of how you engage with this hobby, and actually what most people who say, I play AOS, are talking about. They sit around, they build lists that they want to play or will collect, or they paint or something like that, okay? And it is bad overall. Like, in the long term, this is the single most destructive thing that they could do for the game, is make list building boring. By reducing the ceiling down so low, okay, they're actually they're actually risking ruining their whole game and causing players to like flee and their market. Like, they're risking their own business and the success of the game.
Yes,
solely based on
Kuhal
this.
in chat, to answer your question, he means current list building.
Yes, currently.
It's not that the concept of list building is bad for the game. Otherwise, Magic the Gathering would collapse in about 30 seconds.
Right. No, the concept of list building is very important. Yeah. So there you go. That's a take. A lot of people saying this is an ice cold take. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not as hot. But, like, I still think it's really important. Okay. There you go. What do you think about this?
This is the greatest hits of my complaints so far. Mm-hmm. Well done. Yeah, and it's not just locking them behind a paywall. Sure. And it's not just taking them from the website, where everyone used to be able to look at every war scroll with the click of a button from the store, so you could, as a customer, see the in-game qualities of the product you were about to buy at the point of sale and put it on a app so that someone somewhere could get their app metrics up so that their boss could get a raise. It's not just that, but it is also that. Following in 40K's footsteps, even when the footsteps in the sand show twisted ankles and stumbling like you're playing Death Stranding. Yeah, and like you said, the lifeblood of most RPGs, like, not even like this. Most RPGs.
100%.
Therefore, sitting in your wizard tower in your cave and just crunching away, getting creative with the numbers. It's like I was about to say it's the demographic that it's targeting, but maybe this is a shift. Maybe it's like we have to get the phone game kids. I'm not sure. But yeah, a lot of time is spent hobbying and painting and thinking about color schemes and building lists and finding combos and watching content. And even someone who plays the game constantly is still only playing the game 1% of the time.
Yep.
I haven't built a list in addition because I don't care. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's
so obvious. It's so print by numbers.
Two units that are mathematically the best at what they're doing. I look at everything else in the army, and it's either competing with that, only worse, or the thing they printed on purpose to be the 2 battle tactics units. So I gotta just take those. It's the battle tactic unit. It fits. They might as well, in the force organization chart, they might as well put a 2-slotter that's just called battle tactics. And
Right.
that's where your farmers go, or whatever you call them. What are the things you call them?
Prospectors.
Prospectors.
This is your
yeah.
prospector units. Yes, exactly. Did you take at least 0 to 2 prospectors? Do you have
Yeah.
2 ridiculously cheap chariots or pre-move dudes on foot or whatever? Random dogs who move 9 inches with a run? Yeah. Boring. Boring. And again, I think the importance of this take is that it's not exactly what you said. It's not just that, like, because Ismail said, do you think something like Old World army building, forcing core troops and limiting elite ones could work for AOS? I mean, sure, I like Old World's list building. I think it's actually pretty well done. But that's not alone enough. The point is, there's just not any real choices you're making. That's it. That's the killer. Right? Everything is paint by numbers. You fill these 2 slots here, you fill these 2 slots here, you take this thing that buffs this. It just 1,600 points your army builds itself, and then you're just making like some pet choice for no reason that doesn't actually matter.
Yeah, and we can start to see that a lot of this stuff is connected in ways, right? Like I was just complaining about the rules behind paywall. How many people, I think a meaningful percentage, perhaps not a huge one, but really a meaningful one, which is why I talk about one of my things is the rules should be essentially free.
Right.
Because it comes from the marketing budget, I think. I think that's a marketing problem.
Yep.
Or a marketing issue. How many people have in 2nd edition or 1st edition or whatever, you're looking at the app on your phone and you're building a Skaven army. You don't have any Skaven guys. You're just building one though, because you're like, oh, cool. What does this guy do? What does this guy do? And a certain percentage of that cloud talk or just sort of brainstorming turns into an army sale. And someone who now might really own a Skaven army for 6 years because they thought it was cool and they were building it and they were allowed to. They didn't have to buy into that part of it.
Yep, agreed. Jacob said, so you're in for dumbing down the game? No, absolutely not. Like we talked about simplification.
I think we're
and stuff
talking
like that
about
earlier.
the exact opposite of that.
I agree. This is about having a much higher ceiling.
Opposite of dumbing down the game.
Agreed.
It's why everyone's complaining about all the battle tomes, about how they're so boring and there's so no choices in them. One of the biggest complaints of 4th edition, even of the people who really like it, is like, yeah, the battle tomes aren't very good, are they? The indexes were a good idea that we forgave the boringness of because we thought opium, maybe the battle tomes would be.
I expect indices to be boring, and I'm fine with it. Right? Like that's what they should be. They're meant to be. Here's your basic rules to play the edition, and we released it all at once.
Yeah.
You and I have talked before about how like if a new edition of D&D came out and they were like, well, we've only got rules for the fighter and the wizard, you'd be like, what?
Excuse me, right? But that's their entire thing, and the Games Workshop customers are just sort of conditioned to not find this weird.
Right.
And it is weird. Yeah, there's no fighter. It's fine that there's no soul knife every once in a while, right? Like that's
Sure.
okay, but editions come out and yeah, hey, just play cleric from last edition. It's fine. There's no free bonus actions anymore, but whatever. It's fine.
Right.
That's weird.
Like, I'm okay with an index being boring and rote, but it's like, here's rules for everybody. As long as it's rules for everybody and it's free, great. Cool. Good.
It's essentially the Grand Alliance Order tomes, the giant books they made in 1st edition, where it was just an entire Grand Alliance because they weren't done with the game when they released the game,
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, but then like when the books come out, as we said earlier, they should be more. Have real choice points. Put out ancillary books. Like, hey, whoa, as a side note, I know you'll find this interesting since you're here now, I'll mention this. As a side note for this, that's sort of an interesting corollary, talking about list building. You mentioned character planning in something like D&D or like deck building in Magic. And I talked earlier about how I think Magic's the only game still getting this right. There's a lot of other things that I said Magic is doing wrong, but as far as like, especially within the commander world, it's really fun to just build decks in your mind. You sit around all day, you can just like build decks. Oh, this would be a fun commander. What's a neat thing I could do with that, right? And you just might sit there. You might never actually build that deck, but it exists in Moxfield, and it was cool. It was a way you engaged with the game. D&D, for a long time, largely the same thing, right? Character building, thinking about your character. What are you going to get? What are you going to do? What are you going to select? This is where I think modern D&D has gone wrong. I'm for my next D&D, like I've actually agreed to DM my weekly D&D group, which I haven't done for like 9 years or something like that, because I'm sick of it.
That's almost as long as it's been since I've had a Rifts game.
Almost. But I was like, but I'm going to run it, and we're doing second edition. We're rejecting modernity and embracing the classics. I was like, I want to go back to having actual choices, to having, and more importantly, as you level, to having freedom and open space that the DM inserts stuff into for special rewards. I don't want my whole character planned out like a roller coaster that's just like, oh, I'm level 7, now I have this, and I'm level 8, and every level 8 person is exactly the same of this type.
Yeah.
I'm done with it. Embrace the classics.
Yeah, I was just on Warhammer a few weeks ago talking about psychographic profiles, and one of the main points of Johnny was I did something for each of the psychographic profiles under the with the heading such and such psychographic profile is okay with losing as long as X, right? Because everybody's fine with losing. Spike is fine with losing if their opponent is more skilled than them, because that's how the world should work. And when it doesn't, that's wrong, right?
Yep.
And Timmy is fine with losing as long as he got to have fun first.
Yeah.
But the Johnny thing, and here's what I'll tie it in, Johnny's okay with losing because he won when he built the perfect list.
Yep.
He solved the puzzle. He built the perfect character. He has the perfect, he finally got it down to the perfect 100 for the commander deck. That was his fun. Winning or losing, that's just kind of like showing it to everyone.
Exactly. If Johnny's combo gets stopped somehow and countered or something like that, or it doesn't go off exactly as they want, or they get their big combo to go off and make 100, 100, 1,000 Hydras off their Hydra Broodmaster, and they all have haste and they swing, but then someone fogs, it's like, yeah, okay, cool, great, next. And then they lose. Like, who cares? I did my thing. Like, I got it to work. The machine worked, right?
Yeah, the best thing you can do to a Johnny who's about to show you their grand magistry and then somebody stops it is to ask them, well, what would it have done?
Right.
And they're good.
Right. Oh, it would have been awesome. It would have done this and this and this. Oh, that's super cool. Yeah. And that's it. Like, they're happy, right?
Please sign the score sheet now.
Yeah.
Says Spike. I'll take it up. Don't worry.
Yeah. So at any rate, I know we've talked a lot about how list building is boring and bad, but what I really wanted to get it in here is because, one, it's necessary to say, but two, because I really do think it is long-term extremely detrimental to the game. That's the point I want to leave people with. People will drift away, right? They will care less. They will engage less. In the modern world right now, the most important, expensive thing you can buy is attention. Okay? That's it. All that matters is attention. We live in an attention world. There is the noise and signal, right? And the noise has expanded and will only keep expanding at an exponential rate over the signal. So being able to get attention and make this present in the thoughts of your audience is so important. And by killing this, they have killed a major avenue for where people pay attention. Period. It is kneecapping themselves. So there you go. And yes, obviously Johnnies are in shambles right now. Sorry about your luck. So there you go.
Johnnies are in shambles. Yeah,
just wrecked. No, I mean nobody's in a great space. Even like Spike is bored because it's too direct, right? They don't feel like they've actually earned anything. Timmy is bored because all the big fun swingy things have been removed, right? All the like really random out there wild things have been mostly curtailed. And Johnny's bored because there's no list and combos left. Who's winning here? Who is this for? That's the problem. Okay. Badger says, yes, it's all about attention as I look at my 10 open tabs, 4 open windows, and my phone doing things while I listen to this. Exactly. All right. Next up, I hope Stuart's still here. I don't know what time it is in Japan right now, but because I have no concept of where is it? What I don't know I have no concept of like the time zone in Japan right now. Is it like tomorrow? Is it just very late? I don't know. But Stuart, I hope you're still there. Let's talk directly about the Stuart issue he brought up. The game is too fiddly and it causes issues. All right, it's late. There you go. Stuart, you're still here. This was Stuart's big thing about fiddliness, right? Like 2:31 a.m. Okay, 12 hours ahead. Good. Okay, cool. Fiddliness. So, Heywo, did you watch Stuart's original video? I saw you discussed it a little bit during one of your streams, right? So I think you watched the original one, but not the follow-up. Am I correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I watched it. Somebody asked me about it last stream, and I talked about how much I liked it. I like Stuart's stuff. I don't always agree with it, but it's well-reasoned.
Yes.
And I think it's an important voice oftentimes. I didn't watch the follow-up. I'm being canceled by the Scandinavians.
Sure.
YouTube one, but it's a good title, right? But yeah, it brought up some things that either I had. This is the second time he's brought up something that I didn't not know, but when he brought it up, I'm like, of course, and I've been feeling that for a long time.
Yeah.
And the first time he did that was when he talked about, and this is kind of a whole thing, so I won't get into it, but when he talked about the 4 horsemen of this edition sucks.
Yes.
Competitively. And that was if Lumineth, Tzeentch,
Nighthaunt and KO.
Lumineth, Tzeentch, KO, and somebody else. If the more of them that are
or was
good.
It Soulblight? I don't remember. It was either Nighthaunt or Soulblight. I can't remember, but yeah.
I know the first 3 were for sure KO, Tzeentch, and Lumineth. If all 3 of those are good, the edition sucks and it's annoying to play, and the competitive metagame is terrible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, true, actually. Hold on. Yeah, the 3 most cheating at the game armies. But so that was, and the second time was how, and this is the video that he brought it up in, the one that Vince is talking about. The game really does have somewhat of a divide between IRL and TTS.
Yes.
And you can really see how the game is probably only play tested on TTS for whatever amount that it is. And look at how different the game would be if it was just a TTS game. If this was a video game and there was no lead-in or anything like that, I could build a Beast Claw list that's pretty good right now. I mean, you're flipping coins for game, but that's all we've ever done. So whatever. All I would need to do is go to the store. First, I would have to walk out of my door past my shelves of 6,000 points of Beast Claw monsters that I already own and have painted. I'd have to walk past those and then go in the Games Workshop and buy 7 Thunder Tusks, which I've never needed to have before.
Right.
And then suddenly my army's good, kinda, for a while. Ain't nobody doing that, but on TTS, Control-C, Control-V, just like how GW made the legs for the Mega Gargants, right? And then it'd be fine. And you can highlight 60 guys and just place them somewhere and move them.
And move them exactly 5.9 inches or whatever you're trying to achieve,
and your opponent isn't obliged to play a little Tomoharo Saito, a little using the clock as an aggressive weapon, which probably does happen. It happened in Magic back in my days, And, there's obviously 2 sides to that coin. There's, you don't want to be taken advantage of. You don't want to let your opponent fudge with all the measurements and everything, but there is some meaningful difference between not being taken advantage of by some cheater and aggressively using the clock as such an offensive weapon that you are now almost the one taking advantage, right?
Yeah. So, Brian, thank you for the super chat. He said, "Hey, whoa, block out the window light. You're actually visible."
Look, in my apartment, they tore the roof off of my apartment today. I wasn't sure if I was even gonna log in because there've been like construction noises. For now, I guess they're on lunch break, so it's cool.
Perfect timing.
Yeah. The blast shields are only slightly down. I apologize for the light mode.
Yes.
This is as light mode as the Heywo Wizard Tower gets.
So let me specifically unpack what I think Stuart was getting at. What I mean here is that, like, if you have the game very much cares about very specific measurements in short distances of it, often like 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, right? And this is a real life game played on terrain where things need to get close to each other. And we all simply cheat and accept that that's okay. Okay? And then the second someone breaks that social contract, which is what Stuart was talking about, that's where the issue comes in. So what I mean here is, I'll give you a good example from this last weekend, okay? I had a big unit of Chaos Knights, and I had charged in and blown up like a stone. My buddy was playing Lumineth, and I had killed like his Stone Mountain and his Stone Mage and whatever, right? And he had a bunch of Lumineth Wardens that countercharged me. So already we've got a problem, right? Because you know Wardens, right, Heywo? This like stick that they have that's like this like 3-inch. I don't even have anything. I need to go get my staff out of the corner, right? They're just like holding this massive stick that's going 2 miles off of their base, right? And so they're all trying to get in. Now we're fighting in the middle of terrain, so they're all getting caught on terrain and onto my Chaos Knight models and everything like that. And then I'm whittling them down, and he needs to bring Teclis in, okay? And like Teclis can probably fit, but it maybe it's like, you know, maybe he can't complete the charge exactly within a 1/2 inch, but it's pretty close. You know, like there was some pile in, Figs got bumped around a little bit because we're moving these knights that keep getting, you know what I'm saying? Like they keep getting caught on 3-inch spears.
Well,
He's trying to pull casualties.
Through the Jenga tower.
Yes.
Oh, what, or is it Jenga? What's the sticks and balls game? Never mind, from the 90s.
But yes, exactly what you're.
The toothpicks or whatever. Yeah. This is why Thunder Tusks charge backwards, and we just pretend that they don't, because it's easier to pile in.
And so he comes in, he's like, oh, I'm not sure if I can actually make it. And I was like, I just took my Chaos Knight, and I seriously went like, this is my Chaos Knight on the board, right? And he like lands right here. But again, we've spent 2 rounds in this fight before Teclis comes into the fight. And so he's like, I'm not sure if I can actually make it. And I was like, dude, you've pulled a bunch of casualties. Multiple times we had to like pick up five wardens, pull them apart from they're all stuck together, and set them back down. I just literally took Kerplunk. That's the name of the game, Kerplunk. There you go.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I literally just took my Chaos Knight and went, you're in 1/2 inch. There you go. Congratulations, you completed the charge, right? Because it wasn't like a question of did he roll well enough. He was well over the unit. You know what I'm saying? Like he rolled plenty of space. He had like a 9-inch charge. He was 6 inches away or something. That wasn't the issue. And I'm like, that's the fiddliness that we all agree to just ignore. Right? Because, or your Thunder Tusks with their literal tusks, I guess, coming out the front. We got to turn them around and like push them into a model. Like charging Thunder Tusks against a unit of Wardens, absolute nightmare. Those models are never coming apart. They're just...
Yeah. I mean, this is why Beastclaw Raider players are forklift certified. You just got to back in every time.
Absolutely. Right? And so my point is that like that's the fiddliness I'm talking about. That's the issues. The issue is when we decide to take it seriously, when someone breaks the social contract, right? Because we all accept that there's going to be little bumps, little things. It's a physical game moving physical models on an uneven surface that are incredibly lightweight, right? Trying to navigate around a bunch of terrain and other things. And we all just accept that like sometimes things are going to get moved, bumped. That's a little too far. That's a little too short. We play it loose because that's actually the fun way to play the game. The second that social contract gets broken, this game goes off the rails. That's it. And if you're playing with people that regularly want that level of precision, then what's going to happen, exactly as Stuart said, is you stop playing any big army that requires time off of TTS, right? You'll just play 8 monster trucks, or Sons of Behemoth, or Chaos, Slaves of Darkness, where you're just like moving 6 Vanguard, right? That's it. If you don't allow the playing by intent. That's what I'm saying here. Okay? So, I don't know. That's my thoughts. As somebody who's played an army that's literally never had to worry about coherency, I'm not sure if if you've ever had to really experience the downsides of this one.
No, I purposely didn't want to learn coherency rules. I want my movement phases to take about 45 seconds. I want to get a hot dog when my opponent is moving all their gits, and come back with a root beer or something like that. But it's a different thing entirely when you want to do that, but all this fiddliness gets in your way.
That's right.
I don't know if I would blame. I don't know. I'm usually I fall on the side of I'm not blaming players for following the rules. You wrote those rules, like you might
That's
not
right.
have thought about it. Or it's sometimes it's really hard or maybe even impossible to predict the secondary, tertiary effects, the knock-on effects of some words you wrote when you were thinking you meant this and you didn't. But the buck has to stop somewhere, and I'm the one paying you, so here we are.
Yep.
Not the player's fault if they spam stuff. You wrote that war scroll.
Yeah, no, exactly. You're right. This is the base rules as they've been written, and the base rules want that level of fiddliness. We all just decided to let it go.
Yeah. It's like polite conversation. It's like a take a penny, leave a penny thing. It's the white lies of being polite. It's nice weather we're having, This stuff is fine. Or like, what's the saying? When you assume you make an ass out of me and you, or whatever it is, you and me. No, assumption is what makes the entire world work.
Right. I don't have time to verify every single thing. Yeah.
Yeah. At all times. But it becomes a problem that one time that it becomes a problem, and you can have people exploit that. And that's not good either.
Absolutely. All right. Boy, did you join for this is one of my final ones here. You ready for my final sort of written one? I've got another one I'm going to add in here at the end.
Yep.
We'll do some lightning round hot takes, but here we go. Oh my gosh, I hate how you said that, Matt, but I love it. That's the lubrication of an enjoyable battle. Yes, there you go. That's the worst possible way you could have said it, but how could you say something so true and yet so disgusting? Wonderful. Okay.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Final hot take. Destruction shouldn't be bad, quote, as a theme.
Yeah. I have arrived at the perfect time.
Yes. The fires of Gondor were lit.
Yeah. We answered the call. Hey, I've been saying this for going on almost a decade now.
Yep.
Sooner or later it'll stick. It's a running joke that you have the poster children and then the NPC factions, right? And then there's the destruction might be like the super jobber NPC factions. Like Nagash is never allowed to win, blah, 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 right? Everybody has problems. But yeah, destruction seems like I can't help but think, walking it backwards, that sometimes it does feel like, well, they can't be good though.
Right.
They're supposed to be bad.
Because they're just big, dumb idiots.
Yeah.
That's their theme. They're big, dumb idiots.
There's no depth to it, and random is funny. They love it. I don't know. We don't. Somebody does, perhaps somewhere, but there's a good way to do randomness that's fun. And then there's the way that they're doing it. And random doesn't necessarily mean bad. They often go hand in hand, but it doesn't have to.
That's right. Tonal with the super chat saying, my hot lukewarm take is that Kragnos should die and become a Stormcast. That way he actually does something. Also, Halo should become the ogre faction leader. Nice. I agree. I agree completely with all that.
Didn't Strengthhammer get his
he got his self-insert in there. Yeah.
He got his fan fiction in there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going anywhere, not even outside. So, hey, you know my number.
They'll publish an ogre frostlord with like a really like luxurious beard who like spends most of his time sitting in his cave, and we'll all know we'll know the truth of it. Yeah, like
they thought he was trapped in the frozen mountain, but actually he was just chilling.
Exactly. He's just been waiting. Finally woke up and like just cracks the ice off him like the Rock with the cast, right? Just like, come on, baby, time to go to work. Just shatters the ice off his arm. He's got like 2 feet of ice around him. Yeah, look, you can have randomness. Like one of the what do I want to say, like design elements of destruction could be randomness. And it could still work because randomness doesn't have to be bad. It's bad when you make it once a game, you do your ability and then on a 4-up, something actually happens or whatever, right? Or the new gets unlimited spell. You cast the spell, and if you cast the spell, then you get to roll additional dice to see if anything happens. Well, thank you. Thank you for the luxury.
Awesome.
Okay. Or whatever. Like there's bad implementations.
I have a prayer just like that.
Yes.
The prayer works, when they printed the index, the prayer works on a 5, but it doesn't work if it works on a 5. That just means you get to do the D3 roll that might still fail.
Right. Ah, sir, you get the honor of rolling additional dice to see if anything happens. Oh, well, thank you.
So it interacts poorly with the concept of the new prayer system where you can supercharge it.
Right.
And so you do, and you got a 10. But then you can fail at the stupid D3 and nothing happens anyway. But you still lose all your points because you succeeded. Mission failed successfully and nothing happened.
Right.
So that's just weird.
Yeah, like if the randomness was like, this thing is really good like Skaven style randomness, right? Like this thing is good. You can choose to do this additional thing and introduce randomness, which is still likely in your favor, right? Like on a 2-up, it works and adds an additional thing. But on the 1, something bad happens. So good base, worth using base, right? But you can do the super effect, which is better, and it's still likely, but then you risk a downside. That's fun randomness, right? And that's what Grey Boy just said. Skaven shows randomness can be fun. Yeah, like...
Yeah, and the 2 reasons Skaven does it correctly is that 1, it's worth doing. If you think about it for like 4 seconds. I don't think Spike enters into it when you're thinking about whether this thing is going to function or not necessarily. Like it's worth doing. That's actually powerful. It's like mathematically worth doing. But then the second one is you always get your thing. You just might blow up. And that's funny.
Right.
That's why I said that Skaven was a very Timmy army, and everyone's like, what? It's Johnny. No, it's Timmy. Timmy doesn't necessarily mean big. He's feeling something. You're feeling the explosions of your kinsmen and laughing. You're feeling joy, right?
Yep.
But when you make the super shot, you get the super shot, and it does the damage. It's just you might also blow up.
Exactly.
And there's a big difference between flip a coin, nothing happens, and something cool happens, flip a coin, I'm dead.
Right. Let's just go straight to your let's just make this real. Let's go back to your Everwinter prayer, right? Because you're talking about the throw an ice ball prayer, the Snillic snowball of your.
I believe it's a 4-up now. It used to be a 5-up.
Yeah, so it's like a 4 and an 8, right? And then you get the honor of rolling dice, which could fail. Great. Yeah. Okay. Here's how I would implement that prayer to take into account Skaven randomness. I would make it 4 and 8. Okay. Fine. Right. It can stay as that. That's perfectly normal numbers for a prayer. Nothing weird about that. We accept that, I accept that there's some randomness in magic and prayers and all of that. It's an RNG game. We roll dice. We understand.
I mean, weapons everything is random in this game for sure.
Yeah.
When people say randomness, they're talking about a line that's been crossed in the sand for them generally, right?
Exactly. Okay. So if you get here's how I would implement it. If you get the prayer off, everybody within D3 inches takes D3 mortal wounds. Period. Let's just start there. So the effect happens. Everybody takes the damage. If you roll a 5 or 6 on the dice, okay, then also bonus effect, right? And if you get the 8 prayer, double damage all the time and double the bonus effect. Okay? So now when you do the prayer, you know you've got guaranteed damage against everybody. And sometimes you get an extra cool thing. And when you do the super prayer, you always get double the damage. So 2 mortal wounds or 4 mortal wounds or 6 mortal wounds. And sometimes you get the super duper bonus thing because you rolled the 5 or 6 against that unit. Great. Now I feel really rewarded that I saved up my prayer points and did that thing. Right? That's great. That's all it takes. That's still random. right?
Yeah.
Because you can't
And
bank on the
you
super
can still
thing.
there's still plenty of knobs to turn for balancing it, right? It can be attached to more expensive units. The baseline effect can be 75% as good as it should be, quote unquote.
Right.
But the super effect is 150, right? And maybe
Exactly.
the super effect is still 50/50. And so if you do the math, it's like, okay, yeah, we'll pay for that. Or it could hurt you like the Skaven thing, but I don't want to step on their toes. There's plenty of good balancing knobs here.
Absolutely.
Um,
I think ultimately
yeah.
this comes down to the corollary hot take to this, by the way, is GW doesn't care about destruction armies. And what I mean by that is like they don't have the people in their rules writing team, I think, who have the deep love for a lot of these armies. Maybe some of them, maybe Ironjaws, but not all of them.
That's clear. But I want to simultaneously, there's a certain type of mindset.
Mm-hmm.
The like self-hating destruction player. Oh, woe is me. My army sucks. Good armies are good. That kind of Eeyorian sort of person.
Sure.
Paranoid persecution complex. You don't want to get to that level of annoyance, because then even if you are suffering, no one cares because you're annoying.
Right.
And as we all know from RPGs, if you are annoying, people will side with the Dark Lord against you at the drop of a hat. But in this instance, yeah, I think it is true. I could read through the books and I know that the person who wrote this thing hasn't really played the army or thought about it.
Right.
They're just sort of like typing words that used to be there.
It's not that they hate them or want them to be bad. It's not like hate you. I don't think about you at all. Right? Like that's
the elevator
that
scene.
thing.
Yeah, it's sort of like that.
Yes, it's the Mad Men elevator scene.
And they
right?
for sure weren't given enough time, and they don't have enough people on the team, and they're probably not paid very well from what I hear. And on and on and on. But it's a product and it's not very good. So fix that.
That's right. All right, let's do some final lightning round hot takes here, and then we'll close this out. Thank you for jumping in, by the way, Halo. Pretty much appreciated in the middle of your day. Okay.
Middle. I'm gonna have breakfast in like half an
hour. Fair point. Okay, so here's my lightning round hot takes. 1. Generic manifestations and faction terrain are both dumb and should be jettisoned from the game. That's 1. There you go. You should get rid of them. We don't need them. They're stupid. And
the problem with that is that that's not happening. Well, the generic one probably is, but everybody has to get terrain features. I think terrain feature rules should get about as much of a redesign as the concepts of BTs. That's my lightning round hot take on that one.
If you're going to have terrain features, if you're going to have some of your rules attached to something on the board, you should just be choosing existing terrain and empowering it with those rules.
Yeah.
There you go.
Guy stands on thing to empower radius. No.
Right.
Have 2 armies in the whole game do that. Nobody else.
Tonal says, when is the Crone Seer going to do more than show her feet? She should have been part of a destruction elf army to attack Marathi. Maybe a bad take? No, I think I want to see more splinter factions where they're doing interesting stuff. Like, absolutely. I like intrascene wars. I don't think that's hot take at all.
Well, usually I'm not a big fan of foot heroes, but I'll make an exception.
Hey-o!
I'll be here all night, try to fish.
You got any hot take you want to share in the lightning round here?
Oh, I thought you had a list you were going to run through.
No, go for it.
Lightning round hot take. Well, I joined a live broadcast about hot takes, so you would think I have a bunch.
It's okay. We've covered a lot of them, so it's okay.
This one is a lukewarm / cold take, but I'm trying to think of a non-crass way of saying it because all of its nicknames are crass. The D3, the 2-up D3.
Yep.
That thing. I like how it removes an extra die roll from resolving a stack of abilities in the game and our efforts to curb the time of how long a game is. But if you've already rolled for an effect once, it does not need to do the 2-up D3 thing.
Cutting out
2-up
that one
D3
dice roll is not saving us time. Rolling 50, 80 attacks, and then 40 wounds, and then blah, blah, blah saves, and then working with like tiny 3-inch pylons and trying to get it corrected. That's where the time actually is. We're not attacking the actual.
But then furthermore, you don't get points for removing an extra die roll when you put the 2-up D3 behind a 4-up anyway on most of the abilities.
Yep. I agree.
2-up D3 should only be for things that auto work. And if you have to roll in any way, prayer, spellcasting, 3-up +1 if there's 10 orcs near you, that's you did that. Okay, it just happens. Move on. That's fine. Other hot takes.
I got one for you here.
Go ahead.
Okay. Which is that a lot of people talking about Regiments of Renown. I've got a hot take on Regiments of Renown. Okay. I think Regiments of Renown are dumb. But I'm fine with them existing. I'm not trying. That's not the hot take. Like this, I'm just saying my personal opinion is I don't like them. Mm-hmm. Okay, but they can exist. I think they're actually one of the few things in the game that still actually expands the ceiling. All right, so it's good that they exist. But the take is every army should be balanced in itself, and its best way to play should always be without any other army getting into its mix, like its most competitive way to play. Period.
Yeah. I have a close to it. Armies of Renown. So Regiments of Renown are the ally kind of thing, and then Armies of Renown are like a different way to play within your faction. I think you take the whole concept of Armies of Renown and you cross out the Armies of Renown at the very top, and you write
sub-faction.
Sub-faction.
Yeah.
You already did this.
Yep.
That's it.
Is the hot take we should go back to heavy sub-factions?
Yes.
Yes.
So heavy sub-factions were perfect. And if you want to give players all the candy they wanted and asked for, you just remove the locks, your artifact, and trait choice. Just go back to the old sub-factions that had cool rules and interesting world building and flavor, and remove the requirements and let you do whatever you want. And because everyone gets it, it's fair. That's the whole point of the, like, why don't these cost points? Because everyone gets it, right? And conceivably they've been balanced. Yeah, go back. Return to monkey, go back to the good time there. I
actually think the way that sub-factions are implemented now, where they're restricting unit choices to some degree, okay, and you can it opens the door to other units being in, even potentially cross army stuff or whatever, and none of this and 2 of this and all that kind of thing, and then it puts you a little bit on rails, is actually a correct sub-faction. That actually feels more like what the thing is supposed to be, right? This random tacked on rule that just makes you want to spam units is terrible. Corollary hot take is that spamming units is dumb and bad, and if your game incentivizes it, it makes the game worse. So
yeah. And someday when they change it, because they will eventually, in a long enough timeline, we're going to get the 3 cap, right? Just like 40K has. Once the armies get big enough so that that's possible, they're going to say max 3. And when they announce it, they're going to do it with a certain tone of voice that's going to be like, these players have been exploiting the rules by spamming.
Sure.
And I'm going to get pissed because you wrote that. Don't put this on me.
Yeah.
Your rules told me to do this. Anyway, I'm getting upset at that, and that's pointless. I have potentially a real hot take. Maybe.
I'm ready. Let's end on this then. We'll let you do the end.
Of this.
Okay.
3-inch combat range is too good.
Oh, I don't think that's a hot take at all. I'm completely on board with that.
We've gone too far.
Everyone
wanted it. You gave the people what they wanted. And at the time, it seemed like a good idea, just like Dungeon Finder, just like teleporting to the front of a raid.
Yep.
Just like making multiple tiers of the same raid in an MMO, but then suddenly at a certain point you realize that you're playing a single-player theme park, and you can't say anyone's name who you've played with in the past 3 days because you just click a button, kill a boss, and leave. And suddenly it's not an MMO anymore.
Yep.
But every step of the way, it made sense, and the players wanted it, and no one foresaw the consequences. 3-inch combat range, too good. Too strong.
Completely agreed. Who should have a 3-inch combat range? It should have been based on type. So
Those
like,
guys we were just making fun of with the 3-inch in real life
yeah,
lances.
like monsters should have been the generic 3-inch combat range, right? Like as like pin it to their unit type. So like if monsters all at a 3-inch range, yeah, of course. Look at them. They're like huge, right? Like, yeah, their tails and their tusks and their horns and all that stuff reaches out there. If they reach out their arm, it's 4 times as long as a human being. Like, of course they have a 3-inch reach, right? Okay. We're in a situation where, you know, Monopoly as a game is actually really fast to play if you play by the actual rules, but nobody does. Everybody plays by the house rules of like the money goes in the middle, and when you pass go, you collect money and blah 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 blah. Or when
I've
you hit land
played
on
Monopoly probably twice, but
that's fine.
Yeah.
It's actually a very fast, hard game, like very quick game. It shows like how destructive capitalism gets real fast. But everybody has put on a bunch of other rules that make the game slow and long and take forever because they thought it would make more fun, right? And that's just
we
it.
made a
That's
mixed
what we've done.
economy. Yeah.
Yes.
That's
That's
the way
what
you
we've
do it.
done here. By giving everybody the 3-inch reach, yes, we theoretically got simpler, but now we've got this. Corollary hot take, a lot of units should not be reinforceable. Okay? Like, we should make a ton of units just not reinforceable. Most cav units, especially heavy cav, not reinforceable. Max 5, max 3. That's it. That's what you get. That's their job. Not 10s.
Was reinforcement a holdover from everyone just having huge old world armies in first edition, and they had to figure out some way of letting you play with it for a while in
Sure.
the transition to smaller scale battles?
Sure.
And as such, it's just the butt of the ham that you cut off because your grandma's pan was too small, and you've just been doing it that way because you've been doing it that way?
Yep. That's
Perhaps.
exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think like again, if you had the cavalry or stuff like that, like big lances, they like cavalry gets a 2-inch reach and infantry has a 1-inch reach. And like, sure, there could be exceptions. Your little warden dudes with the long sticks, right? Like they just have a special rule that says this unit has a 3-inch reach. You need a couple of those exceptions in the game, and that's it. Right? If you're like, the only thing we would need a monstrous infantry category for like ogres and stuff like that are meant to be 10, 11 feet tall, that they get to jump up into the 2-inch reach
Cheater
category.
court guys with 11-foot long arms that look like nightmare creatures on PS1. Yeah, that makes sense. I just think the 6-inch threat range, 3-inch pile-in, 3-inch reach on everything is too much.
Yep.
We made the board smaller, and then we tripled everyone's threat range almost.
Agreed.
Bit much.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, I think that is a completely true take. All right, you know what? I think we can call it there. That's good. We've got it. Hey, whoa, thanks for jumping in, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, paratrooped in when I have the time. Thanks for having me. Apologies,
always
Iron
great to have you.
Gutsman. I sent you his little name thing. The
Okay, cool.
server doesn't allow people to invite, which is probably a good safety feature, actually.
Yes,
but,
correct. I did turn that off, yes, for a reason.
I tried to do it before I joined.
No, I appreciate it very much. We'll get Stuart on. Hey, well, thank you. All of you out there, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you enjoyed the takes. Leave your own takes down in the comments. We want to see it. Hit those things. Don't forget to support the show. Thank you to everybody who super chatted. It's super appreciated. And there's all our links down there for affiliate stuff. You want to pick up your hobby supplies, because as I said, get your armies painted. Try. If you need some of that stuff, there's affiliate links down there that'll save you money and help the show. And of course, then there's also our Patreon. There's a merch store. There's Uncle Adam and I's books. Check it all out. New game will be coming here in May, so we're very excited about the next one. It's gonna be fun. But hit those buttons, do things that make dings, become at least 10% cooler. Thank you all so much for watching. Really, really appreciate it. And as always, we'll see you next Wednesday.